There can be many different reasons why your hands sound like they're not playing quite together. And contrary to the popular beliefs of students, it's not always a technical problem, and it's not always because you haven't practiced enough. Sometimes students don't even realize that there is a problem, and that's simply because their ears are not refined enough. But as your piano playing matures, you will start to develop a strong sense of pulse and your ears will refine. And it'll start to bother you if different lines of music are not syncing up precisely together. And it'll keep you from having a strong sense of core in your playing, which is especially important in the music of Beethoven. Today, I will go through the third movement of Beethoven's Piano Sonata and point out spots where I often encounter problems of misalignment and try to offer different solutions to different problems, which hopefully you will take away and apply to your own pieces and your piano playing overall. Thank you so much for watching, and let's get to it. Okay, let me try to demonstrate how I often hear students play this opening. The two hands are playing together but not sounding quite together. You get the sense that there is a melody, but there is just too much distraction from the accompaniment. It's difficult because there is the awkwardness of having the hands crossed and your left hand has to make quick moves. The biggest common reason for your two lines not aligning is because your left hand is not leading. You're not playing it like a melody because your left hand is used to being in the background 90% of the time in all the other pieces. Practice it, making sure you're making a nice legato in 8-bar phrases. Lead with your left hand and listen to it, and your right hand will follow naturally. Don't be timid like this. This will not project over all the 16th notes. Even though it's pianissimo, remember that it is still the melody. Another more technical reason for hands not being together is because of ends of phrases where your left hand has to move quickly across many octaves. And ends of phrases need to be tapered. Play this E super soft and play it as you come up. If you make extra effort to play this second beat, you will most likely be late for the pickup and the downbeat. And even though you have to move quickly, be smooth, drawing an arch with your arm. It'll prevent you from making unintended accents. And a little footnote. The pedal marking here is Beethoven's own, so be sure not to lift the pedal when you're not supposed to. And I would only go down about half or quarter way down with my foot. Beethoven was going for the effect of having harmonies blend and blur, and this special sonority earned this movement the nickname Aurora. Here it's the same melody and the same music, but there's rarely the issue of hands not sounding together. Why? Because your right hand is leading like it has been in all the other times, and your left hand is naturally following the shape of the melody. Okay, we are approaching the first episode, which is often another problem spot. first episode, your right hand has fast notes and your left hand has offbeat octaves. If you try to play the left hand really loud, it'll do its own thing and not align with your triplets in the right hand. It's okay to feel the offbeats, of course, but know that there is a pulse that must go on. And it shouldn't just be beaty because these beats are different harmonies making up a phrase. Keeping these phrases in mind will help you find the direction of both note values. Let's skip ahead to the second episode. This is actually a quite challenging section, and I remember complaining about my arms getting tired when I first learned this sonata. There's just a lot of notes here in the forte dynamic, and you need to know what to listen for. The eighth notes, which make 2-bar units or 4-bar units, should be your guide. Don't try to play every note loudly because your left hand will not go beyond the first few bars that way. The eighth notes, which are traded off between the two hands, should be your motor, which goes on no matter what. This pulse has to be in your system, and your hands should be under the command of the central system. Once you have internalized the pulse and know the direction of phrases, then it's up to the agility, which will improve with diligent practicing. But I promise you, the fastest fingers will not help you stay together with your eighth notes if you do not feel the pulse and the direction together. See how my hands are not aligning precisely together on the sforzando? It's because I am playing with different weight in each hand. The right hand sforzando is much heavier than the left hand sforzando because of the smaller note values. So I have to compensate a little bit, and one hand has to be mindful of what the other is doing. And let me move on to the next episode. This time we have fast notes, fast triplets in both hands. The problem of alignment comes from the left hand dragging. Do not try to play everything so loudly and focus on creating the effect of forte. If you stay strong in your left hand's pinky, it will give you more volume even if you save a little energy on the other notes. And the other thing is to know exactly why something is difficult and practicing for it.
Rather than just playing it over and over again, acknowledge that there is this crossover that takes time to do and practice specifically for that. Sometimes just making a mental note of it will make a difference. And make fast throwing gestures on these forzandos, and it'll help you unload the built up tension momentarily. And always find places where you can lighten up so you can be strong when you need to be. Beethoven himself knew that he was writing a difficult piece for the piano. He intentionally wrote virtuosic pieces. Technical challenges will definitely take time to overcome, but you will solve the problems sooner if you can be as specific as possible with identifying those challenges. Not just this section, not just this bar, but this exact crossover, the jump from this note to that note. Or what is the precise reason the lines are not syncing up together? It's not always a technical problem. It's not because your left hand can't play fast enough. These octave glissandos, by the way, are not that difficult. It's actually my thumb that makes most of the sounds, and the pinky just glides over. My hands are not big enough to play true octave glissando, but I think it's better than playing it like a scale, since Beethoven notated it as a glissando with 5 and 1 fingering. So let me summarize. Your hands will not sync up together if there's no central pulse or direction of phrase in your mind, in your head, in your body. If there's a melody, listen and be sure to lead with it, whether it's your right hand or your left hand, so that the accompaniment can follow. If the two hands are playing different rhythmic values, then first, be aware of this fact and work within the pulse and the larger phrase. And realize the exact difficulty that slows your hand down and practice specifically for it. And don't try to play every note loud within forte. Sometimes the effect of forte does not come from individual notes being loud, but from the wash of sound. And strong bass and pedal can help you quite a bit. You're not a metronome, and you certainly don't want to sound like a machine. Your lines of music will play harmoniously together only if there is a central system in you that keeps the music going as it wants to be heard.